Hi, today we're going to talk about Ethiopia, Eritrea, and a port that seems to be a has a high degree of focus by the Ethiopian PM, but it happens to be in Eritrea. We'll talk about Kenya and cybersecurity aspects on that, and finally France and their expression of disdain about people killing children in the Middle East, and a little bit about their history. All that today on the Worldview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Worldview. My name is Chris Greco. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking about different parts of the world and things that aren't covered by media within the United States, but are covered in international media like Al Jazeera and BBC, which we'll be focusing on today. The first place I want to go to is Ethiopia. And I think this is really important to understand because right now we're in a situation of hotbed of disturbances. And it's funny that again, I point out very distinctly that what we are balloon squeezers in the United States. A crisis comes up, we got to push it down. Boom, another one comes up, we push it down. Boom, another one comes up. And it goes on and on and on and on. We do not think ahead. We do not think strategically. I mean, and just an example on that is right now we're basically overrun with people over the age of 65, and they're saying, "Gosh, we got to do something about that." You know, it wasn't like it wasn't predictable. It wasn't like people were not thinking in the long term. They don't think in the long term, and that's why we're in the situation we're in, and will consistently be in the situation we're in, is because we are governed by political appointees. We are governed by people that are at max is someplace around 4 years, maybe eight if the president gets reelected. But basically, they're political appointees. They're shoved into these government agencies. They have no background in government, very, very few years. And all of a sudden, they're shoved in with government bureaucrats that have been there for 25 years. And they have to try to adapt to that. And that's why they call it the swamp type thing, because people are, shoved in there for a period of decades, and that's an issue. But beyond all that, what happens is that they're not very smart politically. They're not geopolitically. They don't understand the geopolitics that have to do with that, and they don't understand the history behind it. And all that just comes, over and over and over again until such time as there's an issue. And one of the issues is Ethiopia. So I'm just going to just pop this on here real quick. So Ethiopia, back in the 1970s, actually had this whole area here, which is now called Eritrea, and they had all this coastline. They had the entire coastline here. Well, as you can see here, Eritrea, this was the 1970s, they had a revolt, and then they had a rebellion. Ethiopia tried to put down, couldn't put down. Eritrea rebels went in. They did all kind of issues, blah, blah, blah. Then finally they sought their independence, got their independence, and now they have a country. And look at this. They have the entire coastline of Ethiopia. When Eritrea became a country, they took the coastline of Ethiopia away. If you notice here, Ethiopia does not have a coastline at all. Their coastline here, nope, none here. Coastline here, nope, none here. Djibouti has part of that coastline. They became a country in the 70s. So, I mean, so there's all kind of issues here. There's no coastline whatsoever. None. Zero. Zip. They gave it all up. They're basically landlocked. They went from and what is important about this? This is the Red Sea, folks. This is the entryway between the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, into Gulf of Aden, into the what they call it the Arabian Sea, but basically it's part and flows into the Indian Ocean. So you have all the and where's that flow to? Well, let's take a look. Look at it. There it is. There's China right. There's Southeast Asia right here. Burma in here. There's China right in here. India all through here. So I mean, this is basically the entryway into the Pacific. I mean, there's Australia. So I mean, this is the shortcut. And these ports are extremely important. The ports are extremely important. So basically what's happening now is now that you have some of the background on this thing, let's take a look at what's important about it. What's important about it is that Ethiopia, I think, is getting tired of it. So the Ethiopian prime minister, right, he eyes what they call the Red Sea port. So this guy is saying, hey, look, what we're going to try to do is, possibly a new war. Remember that they have been fighting up in the Tigray region, which is near Eritrea, because the Tigray region, they want independence, right? So Eritrea got theirs, we want ours. So now we have hey, look, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't think much of, and I'm sorry, I just don't. Not anymore. It's funny because you can nominate anybody for the Nobel Peace Prize. Putin has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Soleimani, the individual that was responsible for American deaths and was responsible for leading and helping to lead terrorist groups with Iran as a proxy, and it was later killed by a drone strike by President, at that time, President Trump. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, so it's ridiculous. So he's awarded Nobel Peace Prize, had 4 wars, right? He's awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, right? For his rapprochement with Eritrea. So now he's like, oh yeah, I really like Eritrea, but I'll tell you what, we have an Eritrean Red Sea port of Assab, right? which was part of Ethiopia until Eritrean independence more than 30 years ago. It's close to, it's getting close to 40 now. So this is the ASAP docks have been rusting away while Ethiopia's trade has been channeled through neighboring Djibouti. Remember, Djibouti is right there, so that's their neighboring. They're going through that. Why? Because Eritrea doesn't want it. So now the problem is Djibouti, which was again 1970s country, it became a country. It's all of a sudden say, hey, it's not Ethiopian territory. All of a sudden, they're finally coming to the conclusion that, guess what? We got a problem because Eritrea has all our stuff. And again, who is this? BBC, right? BBC does this. So, I mean, there it is. The port is in disrepair. It's not being used anyways. So the Ethiopians, what they're doing is through the prime minister, is he says, look, Ethiopia has never invaded any country and will not do so in the future. That, my friends, is a misrepresentation. Not because they haven't invaded something, but they are going to try their best to do peacefully to get this Assab port. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they can't get it peacefully, they're going to go in and they're going to take it by force. And so we're talking about a possible Ethiopian invasion of Eritrea. And it's funny because, again, we're balloon squeezing at this point. We're so in the situation with the Mideast that we are not looking at anything else in depth. Now, there are intelligence analysts that I'm sure are looking at this thing, and I'm sure are putting together reports and doing whatever else they need to do. But nobody's listening because everything is going against the Mideast. Same with South Sudan. When South Sudan came up, boom, everything went against South Sudan. Every single intelligence asset went against South Sudan. Because we're balloon squeezing. We understand the strategic measures that we need to take to be able to figure out this stuff and try to prevent it from happening. The president and the State Department, God bless the State Department. I mean, sorry, it's just, I say that very facetiously. The State Department should be contacting Ethiopia PM at this point in time and sitting down with him and saying, look, if you want to get together with Eritrea, let's be middle people in being able to do that. Better us than France. Because if France does it, and I'll go into that later, if France does it, basically what they're going to do is they're going to do it just strictly for themselves. They're going to make sure that port is open, and then they're going to make sure they get most of the goods coming out of Ethiopia. So best the U.S. does it and tries to get in that in the beginning. My opinion, okay? My opinion. I've been at the federal government through almost 35 years between the military and civilian aspects. I've seen bureaucracy at its best and worst, and this is something that they need to take a hold of and grab onto and get some resources, intelligence resources there, and be able to make that happen. But 19th century Ras Alula, Mr. Abai, said that the Red Sea was Ethiopia's natural boundary. He reportedly told a meeting of businessmen, "We want to get the port by peaceful means, but if it fails, we will use force." This is BBC talking. So I'm taking a look and I'm sitting back going, everybody's sight right now is on the Mideast or Ukraine, one of those two. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to do something with Ethiopia. What are you going to do with that? Because if you don't do something with it soon, Ethiopia is going to put their people on that border, and they're going to rush headlong to the port of Assab, and they are going to take that port, and then they're going to own that port. And Eritrea, they don't care at this point in time. They will hold that port for Ethiopia. So you got to really, really be careful about that stuff. So that's Ethiopia, and that's the story in Ethiopia. Let's talk about Kenya for a second. This is interesting. Going back to Kenya, I think this is important again. Let's find out where Kenya is, because I think that's important. So here is Ethiopia. We just talked about this. Ethiopia here, right? Ethiopia's here. South Sudan, we talked about that a little bit. There's Kenya. Kenya borders with Ethiopia. So right next to Ethiopia is Kenya. So what's happening in Kenya of importance, and this is, again, BBC stuff. So people being evicted for carbon credits. This is, Kenya's government is illegally evicting hunter-gatherers from their ancestral lands to profit from carbon offsetting schemes. Hundreds of members of the Ogek community are being evicted from the Mao forest, pulling down the houses with axes and hammers. Kenya's government says such operations are to protect the environment. This is where climate change goes into a very dark place. This is what happens when you reward something that can be gained by the displacement of individuals. And this is what happens. When you're getting money, you're getting carbon credits, you're getting funding for the ability to lower carbon, and they're saying we're going to destroy these communities so that we can lower our carbon, get carbon credits, and get funding as a result of this. That's where a problem is. That's the problem. So, developing global carbon credit market allows a polluter to emit carbon dioxide or other carbon emitting gas and pay a forest owner to capture those emissions through carbon absorbing power of their trees. Evicted Ogek, Kenya's government is trying to cement its full territory and financial control over an increasingly lucrative asset. Those in control of Africa's forest stand to earn a lot of money. This is greed, folks. This is greed, and it's greed caused by what we think is a very noble cause, and that is this carbon credit stuff. And it shows that no matter what intent we have, because the road to hell is paved with good intentions, no matter what good intentions we have, people can turn those good intentions into evil, and the evil gets the money. And this is, you offer somebody money for doing something, they're going to sit there and say, what do I have to eliminate to be able to make that money? There it is. So this is a big problem. So that's one thing with Kenya. What's another thing that's happening with Kenya? Right here, there was a cyber attack. A cyber attack at Kenya. And basically what happens is now, Kenya's government is fighting off a huge cyber attack that's affected services on a key government online platform for almost a week. This is a real problem. That's 28 July. It's a little bit old, but still, government has confirmed there's a cyber attack on the e-citizen portal used by 5,000 government services. 5,000 government services use one portal. Again, you talk about Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, right? Where Alibaba sat there and said open sesame because he heard the password. He was able to get in. He stole little bits of jewels here and there, escaped. And basically what happened is the thieves, none the wiser, because he stole little bits of things, not big things. And that's what hackers do. When they get in there, they don't steal big files, big aspects. That would give away their position. They steal little things, little bits here and there. And then they step back and wait. Did somebody correct that? Because if they correct it without doing anything else to any of the other files, it means that they thought maybe there was just there was a file corruption problem. That's it. So now you know I'm undetected. So now you go in, you do more and more damage. So that's what happens. I mean, everyone thinks that hackers go in there and steal a bunch of stuff. They don't. It starts out very small, and that's why they can go undetected for a period of time. Passports, e-visas for foreigners visit the country. Great. That's just great. Issuing driver's licenses, ID cards. You know what this reminds me of? Estonia. When Estonia was hacked, because everything they had was based digitally. And then all of a sudden they were hacked. Nobody could do anything with the US government. Nobody could do anything, period, for a period of time until that was brought back up. What does that talk about the vulnerabilities within the United States? A lot of government agencies are vulnerable. They will tell you there are safest things. They're the safe is in your, is in the, the old phrase, the mother's arms. Nope. I'm telling you right now, they're vulnerable, and the vulnerability is sitting back. I mean, OPM, a few years ago, ended up getting hacked, and what happened? They stole all these records, and they did so for a period of months until somebody else came in with fresh eyes, and all of a sudden said, "Hey, you've been hacked here." So it's really an issue, and Kenya is an ally. So I mean, that's going to be a problem. That's a problem. It's an issue. Government agencies were watching that. So okay, so enough about Kenya. Let's talk about this Macron thing. So President Macron calls on Israel to stop killing Gaza's women and babies. This is one day ago. Stop killing Gaza's women and babies. Yes. President Macron, yes. Look at that. Look at the expression, right? Oh, you got to stop this. You got to stop killing babies and women. He said there was no justification for the bombing, saying a ceasefire would benefit Israel. We do urge them to stop this bombing. You know why? Because the French think that they are Europe. The French have always perceived themselves as kind of this superpower. I have a book coming out, how to conduct relations with the French, based on history, put a lot of information in there about historical aspects from the US and France. And the book is going to come out probably within the next month or two. But basically it's like, how do we conduct aspects of this? Because the French, honest to God, believe that they are the key to Europe. They're in the continent. The UK is not. So they are the key to continental Europe. They've always felt themselves to be the superpower inside Europe, colonial superpower to boot inside Europe. So they are, that's what it's all about. Most of the countries speak French. In fact, I think it's Belgium, where they have a Dutch side and a French side, and they have to, they have to, so the French Belgium and then Dutch Belgium, it's really interesting how that all works. So if you're going to be an officer in the armed services, you have to know both French, Dutch, and English. So I mean, you have 3 languages you have to be basically pretty fluent in. So this is a situation. So let's talk about this for a second. So here's France saying that. Yeah. Do they have the right to say that? Well, probably not. Here's why. France 24 did this. Algeria remembers mass killings under French rule. The French went in and did mass killings in Algeria. Let's see. And this was in 2021. They reported this. Pro-independence protesters broke out after a rally May 8th, 1945. So they wanted independence, right? Nope, didn't want that. The French said, no, they're not going to do that. They shot a 22-year-old man because he didn't lower his Algerian flag. This is France now. This is France. I see French-Canadian flags here in this neighborhood. I see French-Canadian flags here in this neighborhood in North Carolina. You think I'm going to knock on the door and say, hey, look, take down your French-Canadian flag and put up a U.S. flag? I mean, that's so it's just not done in the United States. It's free in the United States, democracy, all that stuff. Plus, North Carolina is not a colony of the United States. So, told 20,000, 86 European civilians, 16 soldiers killed in revenge attacks, killings, Algerian, full apologies, 17, it goes. He also called for help dealing with a toxic waste left behind by 17 nuclear tests France carried out in Algerian desert in 1960s. Yeah, and you know where he got the help for that? You know where France got the help from doing that? The U.S. The U.S. provided nuclear information to be able for them to conduct nuclear testing. Sometimes I wonder about our, the whole deal. But I was alive in the 1960s, but dadgum, not as smart as they were, I guess. French authorities, which occupied and colonized the North African country since 1830, imposed martial law and indiscriminately massacred women, children, and the elderly. Women, children, and the elderly. But they apologized. France apologized, so everything's cool. We apologize for all that stuff. Algeria doesn't even want to see France anymore in their area. And France went down to try to get oil from Algeria. Algeria told them to go pound sand. 44 villages destroyed. And this is the same country whose president is saying, we have to stop doing that. Hey, pot, kettle, let's go on from that. Here's Al Jazeera. France remembers Paris massacre. They took Algerians in Paris in 1961, killed the protesters, and threw their bodies in the Seine River. More like the insane river, but basically the Seine River. This is what happened there. So, cut me a break. 100 and 300 people were killed. No exact figure because, of course, it probably wasn't reported at that time. This is because what happened in central Paris was a colonial massacre. One of the characteristics of all colonial massacres in history is that it is impossible to make precise assessments. So again, here we have it, right? So France is saying, stop killing the women and the babies. Stop doing that. That is absolutely insane. Go back in your history, France. Go back in your history. As a colonial empire, remember, who had Jordan at one point? Oh, that would be France. Interesting. Yep. Then we have this one. Last story I'm going to cover. German UN troops in Mali, translators, fear a Taliban-style fate. So Mali, remember, has had a coup, right? So the German UN troops, were there trying to keep peace. Now they have a coup, and it's like, it's gone. And now all of a sudden, the translators for these troops are saying, whoa, what happened to the translators in Afghanistan when the U.S. pulled out? They're in mortal danger. And the translators are saying the same thing. We have a problem here. We have a problem because the translators are going to stay in country. Mali's it's been taken over. There's a coup. What are they going to do with the translators? Right? So are they going to kill them? Kill their families? It's really scary. The West African country, the UN's pulling out. So much for UN peacekeeping force. Thank you, UN. That's great. Yeah, you guys did a great job. So this is what's going on in that area. So there are tons and tons of things going on in the world that don't seem to be getting covered by the US media. We're more concerned, what are we concerned with? Well, let's go to Google Trends and find out. So, and then I'm going to let you go for the day. Google Trends, right? Let's see what we're more concerned about. So let's see, Google Trends. So we're going to go to Google Trends and we're just going to plug in some of this stuff, right? Let's see. Let's talk about Dancing with the Stars, right? We're going to do that. So we're going to do, we're going to see, what's going on over that. Yeah. Oh, wow. Woo, woo, woo. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. Let's talk about, what do we talk about? Kenya, cyber security. Let's see what that is. It's flatlined. It's flatlined. Okay. So let's talk about, let's remove this one. And let's see, let's talk about, I don't know. Let's talk about, what was it? Golden Bachelor. Let's try that. Let's try that one. Whoa, here we go. Boy, we're almost 100 here, kind of down. Now let's talk about, what are we talking about? Oh, let's see. I don't know. Let's talk about Gaza. Let's talk about Gaza. What are we doing here? Oh, well, there's Gaza. All right, so now let's get rid of this for a second here. And let's talk about Ukraine. Let's talk about Ukraine. What do we have here? Ukraine still up there, but look, that's Gaza. It's overtaken it, Now let's do one last thing. Kardashian. There's Ukraine here. Yep, kind of popped up here because of the situation's happening there. Yep, there we go. So let's talk. Let's go over time. Let's do shoot. I don't know. Let's do, instead of past day. Let's do, oh, I don't know, past 30 days. What are we doing? What do we have here? Past 30 days, and basically all flatlined, except right here, Gaza, kicks up. You know, so it's a situation where it's just, and this is the United States. Let's go into past, oh, I don't know. Let's go into past 12 months. What do we have? Huh. Nothing on Gaza. This is Ukraine coming up there. Kardashian is actually down here. That's not bad. So Ukraine, and all of a sudden, boop, boop. There we go. Again, balloon squeezing. Boop, balloon squeezing. There it is. Boop. October 7th, probably. Boop. There it is. Balloon down, going down. So, I mean, this is a sad situation we're talking about here, folks, but this is exactly what's going on. So, from a worldview, let's talk about this for a second. Ethiopia, possibly invasion of Eritrea to get a port that is now just not even active. Kenya, basically burning stuff down, which is hilarious. Not hilarious. It's not hilarious like funny. It's hilarious like ironic. They're burning things which produces carbon emissions to get carbon credits. Think about this. It makes your mind explode. They're burning stuff to get carbon credits. Okay, so anyways, so that's what's happening in Kenya. Also, they just had a massive cybersecurity aspect that's going to be a problem. Then you have Macron sitting there saying, nope, hey, you got to stop killing women and children. Got to stop this. And then you go back to 1961 when they killed people and threw them in a seine. So, I mean, it's, and killed women and children as part of their putting down their independence deal in 1945 when the war ended, of which France collaborated with the Nazis, surrendered and collaborated until basically, and the resistance was very strong there in France until such time as the U.S. and British forces and some Free French forces, we'll throw them in there, went in and basically took France back. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're good. We're with you guys. So all this stuff is happening, and you have to take a look at it from a perspective as to what's going on right now and how that all works. And one more thing that I want to throw in here. In 1966, de Gaulle, who to me was almost a dictator of France, but basically, he was elected all the time, like president for life type thing. De Gaulle said he wanted all the troops, all the U.S. troops out of France, 1966. He wanted them all out, and he didn't want to be a member of NATO anymore. And Dean Rusk, who was the Secretary of State at that time for the United States, said, "You want all the U.S. troops out? Does that include the ones that are buried there?" So I thought that was really, really well said, because that's when we had Secretary of States that really were good, really, really good. So, anyways. That pretty much does it for Worldview today. And I want to tell you, thank you so much for watching. And please, make any suggestions. I have the email here. Give me some feedback on this stuff. And because I'm out here and I'm looking the stuff up, but I don't know if it's really interesting people, or if there's something else that you want to hear about. If you do, let me know. I'll be more than happy to do an entire show on it if possible. But in the meantime, I will leave you with this. The more that you look introspectively at the United States, the more that you have to have a worldview. Take care.